The Sermon on the Mount, a countercultural manifesto for modern life. We begin on a hillside. We have to picture the scene, not as a stained glass window, but as a real, dusty, human event. A crowd has gathered. A diverse, restless, and hungry crowd. They are people living under the thumb of a brutal military occupation. They are people worn down by a religious system that often felt more like a burden than a blessing, a system of endless rules and regulations that seemed impossible to keep. They were people just like us, worried about their next meal, their health, their families, and their future. They were looking for hope. They were looking for a leader, a revolutionary, a new voice. And this man, Jesus, had been gaining a reputation. He spoke with a different kind of authority. He didn't just quote other teachers. He spoke as if he knew. And so, he sees the crowds, and he goes up on a mountain. This is not just a geographical detail. In their history, a mountain was where God showed up. It was where Moses received the law, where the prophets met with the divine. Going up a mountain was a signal. It was a way of saying, pay attention. Something foundational is about to happen. And he sits down, the traditional posture of a teacher, and his closest followers gather around him. The crowd presses in, and he opens his mouth. What comes out is not what they expected. They were likely hoping for a political manifesto, a 5-point plan to overthrow Rome. They were hoping for a call to arms, a strategy for winning back their national pride. They were hoping for a message that would make them stronger in the eyes of the world. Instead, what they got and what we have received is the most radical, the most countercultural, the most upside-down and world-altering speech ever given. It is a manifesto, but not for a political kingdom. It is the constitution of a new kind of reality, an upside-down kingdom. It is a declaration of what it means to be truly, fully human, in a way that cuts against the grain of everything the world, both their world and our world, tells us is important. Our modern life is built on principles of strength, self-sufficiency, ambition, personal happiness, and projecting success. This sermon is a direct challenge to every single one of those values. It is a manifesto for a different way, a way that looks like weakness but is, in fact, the only true strength. It is, quite simply, a manifesto for a countercultural life, just as desperately needed in our modern, digital, fast-paced world as it was on that dusty hillside 2,000 years ago. And he starts this manifesto with a series of bombshells, a list of blessings that sound, to any sensible person, like a list of tragedies. He begins, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Let's stop there. Poor in spirit. What in the world does that mean? Our world, now more than ever, celebrates the rich in spirit. It celebrates the confident, the self-assured, the go-getter, the person who has it all together, or at least has the perfect Instagram feed to prove it. We are taught to be strong, to be self-reliant, to fake it till you make it. We are taught that to be poor in anything, poor in confidence, poor in resources, poor in spirit, is the ultimate failure. Weakness is to be hidden, medicated, or overcome. To admit need is to lose. And yet, Jesus makes this the very first step. This is the entry fee into this new way of living. To be poor in spirit is not about our bank account. It's about our spiritual bank account. It's about looking inside and realizing, with gut-level honesty, that we are bankrupt. It's about admitting that we don't have it all together. It's about dropping the pretense, the mask, the exhausting performance of self-sufficiency. It's the moment of profound humility where we stop pretending and say, I can't.
I'm empty.
I'm lost. I need help. This is the opposite of arrogance. It is the death of ego. And in our world, where ego is king, this is a revolutionary act. Jesus is saying that the kingdom of God, this new reality, doesn't belong to the capable, the strong, or the successful. It belongs to the failures. It belongs to those who have given up, those who have hit bottom, those who have stopped pretending. It is only when we empty our hands of our own imaginary strength that we have room to receive the true gift. This first blessing is the most difficult because it's the foundation for all the rest. It's the end of our kingdom and the beginning of His. It's the realization that we are not the solution. We are the problem. And only when we start there, in that place of honest, spiritual poverty, can we even begin to understand the rest of this countercultural life. He continues, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted." This is the second punch. Blessed are those who mourn. We live in a world that is terrified of mourning, terrified of sadness. Our modern life is a relentless, multi-billion-dollar industry dedicated to the avoidance of pain. We have endless distractions, endless entertainment, endless substances, endless noise, all designed to keep us from having to sit in the quiet, uncomfortable presence of our own sorrow. When someone is grieving, our default response is to say, "Cheer up," or "Look on the bright side," or "Time heals all wounds." We offer platitudes because we, ourselves, are so uncomfortable with the raw, messy, and necessary reality of human grief. We see mourning as a problem to be solved, a sickness to be cured, a negative state to be passed through as quickly as possible. We want to get back to normal. Jesus, in his profound wisdom, flips this on its head. He says mourning is not a curse, it's a blessing. He gives us permission to mourn. He validates our pain. He says it is not only okay to be brokenhearted, but that there is a sacredness to it. And this isn't just about mourning a personal loss, the death of a loved one.
It's about that, yes.
But it's also about a deeper kind of mourning. It's about having a heart that is soft enough to break for the things that break the heart of God. It's about mourning our own brokenness, the gap between who we want to be and who we actually are. It's about mourning the state of the world, the injustice, the poverty, the violence, the greed, the loneliness. It's about looking at the world not with a cynical, calloused heart, but with a soft, empathetic heart, and allowing ourselves to feel the tragedy of it all. The world says, toughen up. Jesus says, break down.
Why?
Because of the promise. They will be comforted. This is not a shallow there. The word for comfort here is powerful. It's the same root as the word for the Holy Spirit, the Comforter. It means to be called alongside, to have a presence that comes and sits with us in the darkness. It's a promise that in our deepest sorrow, we are not alone, that God Himself meets us in that place of pain. The blessing is not the grief itself, but the profound intimacy with God that can only be found in that place. And then, the third one, perhaps the most misunderstood of all, blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. If there is one word that our modern world despises, it is meek. We hear meek and we think weak. We think of a doormat, a pushover, a timid, spineless person who lets everyone walk all over them. Our culture celebrates the opposite. We celebrate the assertive, the aggressive, the go-getter, the alpha. We are told to lean in, to assert ourselves, to command a room, to make our voices heard. The loudest voice, the sharpest elbow, the most aggressive negotiator, these are the people who get ahead. These are the people who, we are told, inherit the earth. They take what they want. They build their own empires. Jesus' third blessing is a complete rejection of this entire philosophy. So what does meek actually mean if it doesn't mean weak? The original Greek word for meek was used to describe a wild animal, a powerful stallion, that had been tamed. It's not about an absence of strength. It's about power under control. It's about having strength, but choosing not to use it for selfish, destructive, or aggressive ends. Meekness is the opposite of arrogance. It's the opposite of a life built on my rights, my will, my way. It's the person who is so secure in their identity, so grounded in their relationship with God, that they have nothing to prove. They don't need to win every argument. They don't need to have the last word. They don't need to posture, or intimidate, or manipulate to get their way. They are gentle. They are teachable. They are willing to defer. This is a profound, quiet strength that is infinitely more powerful than the world's loud, brittle aggression. And the paradox of the promise is the most beautiful part. They will inherit the earth. The people who grasp, who fight, who claw their way to the top, Jesus says, end up with nothing. They spend their whole lives trying to conquer a little patch of dirt, and it's never enough. But the meek, the gentle, the ones who don't grasp, the ones who hold their own power lightly, they are the ones who receive everything. They are the ones who are truly at home in the world, who can enjoy it, who belong, because they are not trying to own it. They are the true inheritors. He continues this list of paradoxes. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. This blessing is about desire. It's about our appetite. It's about what we really want at the deepest level of our being. Our modern world is a machine designed to manufacture and direct our desires. It spends billions of dollars every day to make us hunger and thirst for things. For a new car, for a bigger house, for a more attractive body, for a more exotic vacation, for more followers on social media, for the next promotion, for the next experience. We are conditioned from birth to be in a constant state of restless, unfulfilled desire for more. We are a culture of addicts, hungry for the next hit of dopamine, the next purchase, the next like. And Jesus stands in the middle of this noisy, desperate marketplace of desires and asks, "What are you really hungry for?" He invites us to a different kind of appetite, a hunger and thirst for righteousness. This isn't about being self-righteous, about being a goody two-shoes. The word righteousness is a huge, powerful word. It means justice. It means things as they ought to be. It's a hunger for the world to be made right. It's a deep, burning, gut-level passion to see justice for the oppressed, to see honesty in our systems, to see relationships mended, to see brokenness healed. It's also a personal hunger, a desperate desire for our own lives to be right, to be aligned with goodness, to be whole. Jesus is saying, "Blessed are the people whose core, driving passion is not for their own comfort, but for the world's restoration." This is not a polite preference. It's a hunger and thirst, a life or death craving. It's the person who is so consumed with this desire for goodness that they can't be distracted by the cheap snacks the world offers. And the promise is simple and total. They will be filled. Not just snack, but filled, satisfied, made whole. It's a promise that this is the only appetite that, when pursued, will ever lead to true, lasting satisfaction. All other hungers, when we get what we want, just leave us empty and hungry for something else. This one, and this one alone, is the one that fills. Now the blessings pivot. They move from our internal state, our poverty, our grief, our meekness, our hunger, to our external actions. The inner reality now has to move outward. And he starts with this: "Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy." This is where the rubber of this upside-down kingdom meets the road of our daily, messy lives. Mercy. It's a word we love to receive, but we are so slow to give. We live in a world that, increasingly, runs on the opposite of mercy. It runs on judgment. It runs on cancel culture. It runs on holding grudges, on keeping score, on an eye for an eye. We are masters of condemnation. We screenshot receipts. We dig up old posts. We are quick to expose, quick to shame, and quick to cast the stone. We live in a culture of gotcha, where the slightest misstep can lead to public, digital execution. We are, in short, a deeply unmerciful people. And into this harsh, judgmental world, Jesus says, "Blessed are the merciful." What is mercy? Mercy is not justice. Justice is getting what you deserve. Mercy is not getting the condemnation you do deserve. It's withholding judgment. It's choosing to forgive when you have every right to condemn. It's giving a second chance and a third and a 77th. It's looking at the person who has failed, who has hurt you, who has fallen short, and choosing to see them with compassion rather than contempt. It's the act of absorbing a debt rather than demanding payment. It's the essential grease in the gears of all human relationships. Without mercy, every family, every friendship, every workplace, every community would grind to a halt in a cloud of accusation and resentment. Jesus is saying that the people who are truly blessed are the ones who have learned to be conduits of this mercy. They are the ones who stop the cycle of judgment. And the promise is reciprocal. They will be shown mercy. This is a law of the spiritual universe. Our own capacity to receive forgiveness from God and from others is directly inextricably linked to our willingness to give it. We cannot live with a clenched fist, demanding justice from everyone else, and at the same time have an open hand, begging for mercy for ourselves. It doesn't work. The merciful, and only the merciful, will truly understand what it means to be forgiven. He continues this theme of our outward-facing life, but he immediately takes it back to the source. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. This is one of the most beautiful and most challenging of all the blessings. Our world is obsessed with the external, with our appearance, with our resume, with our public actions, with our social media profile. We spend so much of our lives curating the outside. And Jesus comes along and says that the most important thing is the inside, the state of our heart. And he doesn't just say a good heart or a kind heart. He says a pure heart. What does that mean? It doesn't mean a sinlessly perfect heart. Nobody would qualify. Pure, in this context, means unmixed. It means undivided. It's about our motives. It's about being all one thing. So much of our modern life is about being fragmented. We have our work self, our family self, and our online self. We are driven by 1,000 mixed motives. We do a good deed, but we also want the like for it. We are kind to someone, but we also want them to like us, or to do something for us in return. We are constantly divided. The pure in heart is the person who is moving toward integration, toward wholeness. It's the person whose inner world is beginning to match their outer world. It's a person of profound, simple integrity. Their yes is yes and their no is no. There is no hidden agenda, no manipulation, no game. They are transparent. They are authentic. Their central, driving desire, even if they fail, is for one thing, to love God and to love others. All their other motives are slowly being brought into alignment with that one, pure motive. This is a lifetime's work. It's the work of letting go of our masks and our performances and becoming simply real. And the promise is the most staggering of all. They will see God. This doesn't just mean they'll see God in the afterlife. It means they will see Him now. The person with a pure, undivided heart is the one who can perceive reality. They see God's hand in the world. They see the sacred in the ordinary. They see the divine in the face of their neighbor. The impure heart, the divided heart, is blind. It sees only itself, its own agendas, its own fears. The pure heart is the one with clear vision. It sees what is really there. From the internal state of purity, he moves to the most difficult external action. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Notice, he does not say, blessed are the peacekeepers. There is a world of difference. Peacekeeping is just the avoidance of conflict. It's sweeping things under the rug. It's the let's just not talk about it mentality. It's the person who smiles to your face but holds a grudge. Peacekeeping is about maintaining a superficial, tense, and untrue calm. Peacemaking, on the other hand, is one of the hardest, messiest, and most costly jobs in the world. A peacemaker is not someone who avoids conflict. A peacemaker is someone who steps into the conflict, who steps into the messy, broken, painful places, and actively works to bring about genuine, lasting, and just reconciliation. Peacemaking is not just getting along. It's about making things right. We live in an age of profound, toxic polarization. We are divided politically, socially, racially, and even within our own families. The world encourages us to pick a side, to dig our trenches, to build our walls, and to lob rhetorical grenades at the other side. We are masters of us versus them. In this world, the peacemaker is a radical, a traitor to their tribe. A peacemaker is the one who refuses to us versus them. They are the bridge builders. They are the ones who are brave enough to listen to the other side, to try and understand their pain. They are the ones who translate, who absorb hostility from both sides, who refuse to return hate for hate. This is exhausting, thankless work. You often end up being shot at by everyone. But Jesus says this is the work of the blessed. And the reward? What do they get for this thankless, brutal job? They will be called children of God. This is the highest compliment. They are the ones who are doing the family business. They are the ones who look like their father. Because God is the ultimate peacemaker. His entire plan, his entire purpose, is to reconcile a broken, warring, and divided world back to himself and back to each other. When we engage in the messy, costly work of peacemaking, we are participating in the very work of God himself. We are showing the world what our Father is like, and then he concludes the blessings with this, the most shocking one of all. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This is the capstone. This is the one that ties all the others together and provides the final, sobering, and validating reality check. He's saying, let me be clear. If you actually live this way, if you are truly poor in spirit, if you are empathetic and mournful, if you are meek and not aggressive, if you are hungry for justice, if you are merciful in a judgmental world, if you are pure in heart and authentic, and if you are an active peacemaker, let me tell you what the world's reaction will be. The world will not applaud you. It will not give you an award. It will not shower you with followers. The world, he says, will find you threatening. It will find you strange. It will find you annoying. Your life will be a quiet, shining, and deeply uncomfortable critique of the world's entire value system. And the world hates to be critiqued. So, you will be persecuted. This might not mean physical violence, though for many it does. It might mean being mocked. It might mean being misunderstood. It might mean being cancelled. It might mean being marginalized, left out, considered a fool. It means you will pay a social price for your allegiance to this upside-down kingdom. And Jesus says, when that happens, when you are criticized, not for your failures, but for your righteousness, you are blessed. It is the ultimate sign that you are on the right track. It is the validation that you have truly chosen the countercultural path. He even says to rejoice and be glad, because you are in the best possible company. You are standing in the long, noble line of all the prophets and truth-tellers who came before you, who were also rejected by the world systems. The promise is the same as the first. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It's a reality you inhabit. You are a citizen of this new kingdom, and the hostility of the old kingdom just proves your citizenship is real. After laying out this shocking list of blessed citizens of his new kingdom, Jesus turns to them and gives them their new job description. He uses two simple, powerful, everyday metaphors. First, he says, you are the salt of the earth. What a strange and beautiful thing to call someone. Let's think about salt in their world. Salt had three primary functions. First, it was a preservative. In a world without refrigeration, salt was the only thing that stopped the meat from rotting. It stopped the decay. Jesus is looking at his followers, these humble, meek, mourning, peacemaking people, and saying, you are the preserving agent in a world that is in a state of moral and spiritual decay. Your quiet, countercultural lives are the one thing stopping the rot from taking over completely. You are the moral antibodies. You are the preservative. Second, salt creates thirst. If you eat something salty, it makes you thirsty for water. A salty life, a life lived according to these beatitudes, is a life that makes people thirsty. Thirsty for what? Thirsty for the goodness, the peace, the authenticity, the mercy that they see in you. Your life is supposed to be an advertisement that makes people curious about the living water that you have. And third, salt is a flavor enhancer. Salt, in small doses, doesn't make food taste like salt. It makes the food taste more like itself. It brings out the true flavor. Jesus is saying that his followers are meant to be scattered in the soup of the world, and by their presence, they are to bring out the true, God-given flavor of life, of humanity, of creation. But then he gives a stark warning. But if the salt loses its saltiness, how can it be made salty again? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. This is the danger. Salt is salt because it is different from the food. The moment it becomes just like the food, it has no purpose. This is a call to be distinct. If these countercultural people just blend in, if they become just as angry, as judgmental, as anxious, and as materialistic as the world around them, they're useless. They have lost their saltiness. It's a call to be in the world, but not of the world. a call to be a distinct, preserving, thirst-provoking, flavor-enhancing presence. The second metaphor he gives them is even more active. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. If salt is the quiet, internal, preserving influence, light is the active, visible, external one. Light, by its very nature, must be seen. It has one job: to shine, to illuminate, to banish the darkness. He says you are a city on a hill. This is not a spirituality for the monastery. This is not a private, hidden, just me and Jesus faith. This new way of living, this kingdom life, is meant to be public. It's meant to be visible. It's meant to be a landmark. Then he says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. The purpose of light is to be seen.
But why?
This is the crucial part. We are to let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. The light is not for our own glory. This is not a call to look at me, look how spiritual I am, look at my good deeds. That's just another form of pride. The light is the action of the Beatitudes. It is the visible mercy. It is the public peacemaking. It is the tangible humility. It is the good deeds that flow from a transformed heart. And the entire purpose of this light, the entire reason for it to shine, is not to draw attention to the lamp, but to the source of the light. It's to make people look at our good lives and say, wow, their God must be amazing. Our lives are supposed to be a signpost, a window, that people look through to see something bigger and more beautiful. It's a call to a visible, active, public goodness that points away from ourselves and gives all the credit, all the glory, to the one who made the light possible. It's a call to live our lives out loud, not for our own reputation, but for his. At this point, the crowd must have been buzzing, especially the religious people. This teacher was saying all kinds of new, radical things. He was blessing the outcasts. He was ignoring all the rules of power. He was talking about a new kind of kingdom. They must have been thinking, this man is dangerous. He's throwing out our sacred traditions. He's abolishing the law of Moses. He's a heretic. Jesus, knowing their hearts, knowing their thoughts, stops and addresses this head-on. Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. This is one of the most important and most clarifying statements in the entire sermon. He's saying, I'm not here to tear down the old building. I'm here to complete it. I'm here to show you what the architect intended all along. He's saying the law, the thou shalt nots, was never the goal. It was a guide. It was like a fence to show us the boundaries. But it never had the power to change our hearts. It could only tell us don't do that. It couldn't make us not want to do it. Jesus is saying he's here to fulfill the law by taking it from an external checklist to an internal transformation. He's here to show the heart behind the rule. He's moving the focus from behavior modification to heart transformation. And in doing so, he's not lowering the bar, he's raising it to an impossible, humanly speaking, height. He says that unless your righteousness surpasses that of the Pharisees, you will certainly not enter the kingdom of heaven. The Pharisees were the most righteous people alive. They had external rule-keeping down to a science. Jesus is saying, that's not enough. That's just the starting point. This new kingdom is not about what you do. It's about who you are. And this is a much, much higher and more terrifying standard. He's about to show them exactly what that means. And so he begins a series of 6 examples, where he takes their old, familiar understanding of the law and turns it on its head. He says, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, you shall not murder. But I tell you, this is the radical part. This, but I tell you, is an astounding claim of authority. He is putting his own words on par with and even above the interpretation of the law they had always known. He says the old law was, don't commit the physical act of murder. That's a good law. It's the bare minimum for a civil society.
Most of us feel pretty good about that one.
We haven't murdered anyone. We're good. But Jesus says, that's not the root of the problem. He says, I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, an Aramaic term of contempt like idiot or empty head, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, you fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. This is terrifying. He is saying that the root of murder is anger. The root of murder is contempt. It's the act of murdering someone in our heart, of dehumanizing them, of writing them off as a fool, as worthless, as an idiot. The physical act of murder is just the final, ugly fruit of a seed that was planted in the heart long before. Jesus is saying that the seed is as toxic to our souls as the fruit is to society. This is a profoundly modern and deeply convicting teaching. How much of our inner monologue is filled with this? How much of our social media, our political discourse, our daily traffic jam thoughts are filled with this simmering anger and contempt for the other, for the person who thinks differently, looks differently, or just cut us off in traffic? Jesus is saying that this is the spiritual cancer. He is not just policing our hands, he is policing our hearts. He's looking at the very root of our violence. But Jesus never just diagnoses a problem. He always gives the solution. And his solution to this problem of anger and contempt is just as radical as the diagnosis. He says, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them. Then come and offer your gift. This is revolutionary. Stop and think about what he is saying. The altar was the very center of their religious world. It was the place you went to get right with God. It was the most sacred act a person could do. And Jesus says, if you are in the middle of that most sacred act, if you are in the middle of worship, in the middle of praying or singing or taking communion, and you suddenly remember that a relationship in your life is broken, that someone has something against you, you are to stop. Stop singing. Stop praying. Get up. Walk out of the church, out of the temple. Leave your gift, your act of worship right there. And first go and do the hard, messy, humbling work of reconciliation. Go and apologize. Go and listen. Go and try to mend the broken relationship. And then, and only then, are you to come back and finish your act of worship. He is saying, in the clearest possible terms, that our horizontal relationships with each other are the platform for our vertical relationship with God. You cannot be right with God if you are wrong with people. He is saying that your relationship with your brother, your sister, your neighbor, your coworker is more important than your religious rituals. Real spirituality, in this new kingdom, is not about how loud you sing on Sunday. It's about your willingness to say, I'm sorry, on Monday. It is a radical call to prioritize reconciled, mended, human relationships as the very foundation of a life of faith. He moves to his next example, and it's just as challenging. You have heard that it was said, you shall not commit adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. Once again, he moves the goalposts from the external to the internal. The old law was about the physical act. Don't do it. And again, most people can check that box. But Jesus, as he always does, goes straight to the heart. He says the problem doesn't start with the act. It starts with the look. And not just any look, not the look that appreciates beauty. The Greek word here is about a look that has lustful intent. It's a look that takes. It's a look that objectifies. It's the moment we stop seeing a whole person, a human being made in the image of God, and we reduce them, in our minds, to an object for our own gratification. It's the look that dehumanizes. This teaching is not, as it has sometimes been misused, about shaming attraction or making sexuality bad. It is about a profound respect for the whole person. It is a radical call to see people not as things to be used, but as humans to be honored. In our modern world, this teaching has never been more relevant. We are a culture that is drowning in objectification. We are saturated with pornography. Our advertising, our movies, our social media are all built on this very look that Jesus is talking about, the reduction of people, both men and women, to body parts, to objects of desire. Jesus is saying, your inner thought life matters. It matters profoundly. The way you think about people is just as important as the way you treat them. Because, in fact, the way you think about them is the way you are treating them in your heart. This is a call to a new, radical kind of purity, a purity of mind and intent that sees the sacredness in every single person. And just as with anger, his solution to this problem of the heart is not casual. It is extreme. It is shocking. He says, if your right eye causes you to stumble, gouge it out and throw it away. It is better for you to lose one part of your body than for your whole body to be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to stumble, cut it off and throw it away. Is he being literal? Is he telling his followers to mutilate themselves?
No.
This is classic Middle Eastern hyperbole. It's an intentionally shocking image designed to wake us up, to grab us by the shoulders and shake us. He is saying, you need to take this seriously. This is not a game. This is not a boys will be boys, or it's just a harmless look issue. He is saying that these small, internal, secret sins of the heart are, in fact, a spiritual cancer. They are not harmless. They are deadly. And they will, if left unchecked, destroy your whole self, your soul. Therefore, you must be radical. You must be ruthless. You must be willing to take drastic measures to protect your heart, to protect your integrity. What does that look like in our modern world? It means if your phone is the eye that causes you to stumble, then gouge it out. Put on filters, set boundaries, leave it in another room. If your hand is the subscription, the app, the habit, then cut it off, cancel it, delete it, confess it to a friend. If a certain relationship is a source of temptation, then create distance. This is the exact opposite of our casual, I'll deal with it tomorrow culture. It's a call to spiritual emergency. It's a call to say no to the things that are destroying us with the same urgency as if we were escaping a burning building. It is a call to be ruthless in our pursuit of wholeness and purity of heart. He continues his reframing of the law, turning to another deeply painful and practical human issue, divorce. He says, it has been said, anyone who divorces his wife must give her a certificate of divorce. But I tell you that anyone who divorces his wife, except for sexual immorality, makes her the victim of adultery. This is a difficult and often misinterpreted teaching. To understand it, we have to understand the context. In Jesus' day, the law from Moses, which was intended to protect the woman by requiring a legal certificate so she wasn't just thrown out, was being manipulated and abused by some religious leaders. They had created loopholes, teaching that a man could divorce his wife for almost any trivial reason, for burning his dinner, for speaking to another man, for simply displeasing him. This system was devastating to women who had very few rights and, in a divorce, would be left socially, financially, and religiously destitute. It made women disposable. Jesus, in this teaching, is not primarily laying down a new, colder, harder law. He is stepping into this abusive situation and doing what he always does, protecting the vulnerable. He is sweeping away all the trivial, man-made loopholes. He is radically restricting the grounds for divorce. He is saying, no, you don't get to just dismiss her. You don't get to just throw her away. He is reestablishing the original, sacred, and profound intention of marriage. He's saying this is not just a casual, legal contract that you can tear up when you get bored. It's a one-flesh union. It's a covenant. It's a profound, sacred bond. In our modern world, which often treats relationships and marriage as casual, as disposable, as something to be pursued as long as it makes me happy, this teaching is just as countercultural. It's a call to see commitment, to see covenant, to see marriage, not as a consumer item, but as a sacred, costly, and beautiful bond that is worth fighting for, that is meant to be permanent, and that is to be entered into with profound seriousness and left only in the most tragic and extreme of circumstances. From marriage, he moves to our words. Again, you have heard that it was said to the people long ago, do not break your oath, but fulfill to the Lord the vows you have made. But I tell you, do not swear an oath at all. This is another teaching that seems strange to us, but it was at the heart of their and our problem with integrity. In his day, people had created a complex, legalistic system of oaths. It was a way to navigate how and when you could or could not lie. For example, some taught that if you swore by the temple, it wasn't a binding oath. But if you swore by the gold of the temple, that was binding. If you swore by heaven, it was one thing, but if you swore by God, it was another. It was, in short, a system designed to justify deception. It was a way of creating levels of truth, of having your fingers crossed behind your back. It allowed you to sound truthful while reserving the right to be deceptive. And Jesus, in his radical simplicity, just sweeps the entire, complicated system off the table. He says, don't play these games. He says, all you need to say is simply yes or no. Anything beyond this comes from the evil one. He is calling for a new kind of person, a pure in heart person whose integrity is so solid, whose character is so reliable, that they don't need to swear. They don't need to pinky promise or swear on a stack of Bibles or I swear to God. Their simple yes is a yes. Their simple no is a no. Their word is their bond. This is a profound and deeply countercultural challenge to our modern world. We live in a world of spin. We live in a world of marketing, of public relations, of carefully managed images, of non-denial denials, of legalese, of fine print. We live in a world where we expect people to be shading the truth. And Jesus is calling for a people who are refreshingly, radically, and simply true. A people who are unadorned, who are reliable, and whose word, by itself, is enough. Now we arrive at the absolute, white-hot, revolutionary core of the entire manifesto. This is the part that changes everything. This is the part that, if taken seriously, would upend our entire world. Jesus says, you have heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. This is it. An eye for an eye was the old law. And in its day, it was actually a good thing. It was a law of limitation. It stopped the endless cycle of escalation. It said, you can only take an eye for an eye, not a life for an eye. It was a way of limiting retaliation. But Jesus, as he always does, goes deeper. He says, we're going to break this cycle entirely. The old kingdom, the kingdom of the world, runs on retaliation. It runs on getting even. You hit me, I hit you back harder. You insult me, I insult you back meaner. This is the logic of the schoolyard, and it is the logic of global politics. It is the logic of all human conflict. And Jesus says, I'm ending it. My people will live by a different logic. And he gives this example. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, this is a crucial cultural detail. To be slapped on the right cheek by a right-handed person, you have to be slapped with the back of their hand. This was not an act of violence, like a punch. It was a profound act of insult. It was what a master did to a slave, what a Roman did to a Jew. It was an act of dehumanization. It was a way of saying, you are not my equal. You are nothing. And the normal, human response would be to either cower in fear or to rise up in rage and hit back. Jesus offers a third way. Turn to them the other cheek. This is not passivity. This is not being a doormat. This is a radical, defiant, courageous act. By turning the other cheek, the left cheek, you are inviting them to hit you again. But now, they cannot hit you with the back of their hand. They would have to hit you with an open palm or a fist. And that, in their culture, was an act you only did to an equal. By turning the other cheek, you are nonviolently and powerfully asserting your humanity. You are saying, I am not your inferior. I am a human being. I will not cower. But I will also not become like you. I will not return your hate. I will stand here, in my full, God-given dignity, and force you to see me as a person. It is an act of profound, creative, nonviolent resistance that breaks the cycle of insult and retaliation. He's not done with these shocking, counterintuitive examples. He continues, and if anyone wants to sue you and take your tunic, hand over your cloak as well. The tunic was your inner garment, your shirt. The cloak was your outer garment, your coat. For a poor person, Their cloak was everything. It was their blanket at night, their protection from the elements. In fact, the Jewish law itself said that you could not take a man's cloak as collateral overnight because it was essential for his survival. Jesus' example is extreme. Someone is suing you, taking you to court, and they're so greedy they are taking the very shirt off your back. What is the response? Not to countersue, not to fight. The radical, upside-down kingdom response is to give them your cloak as well, to strip down to your undergarments in the middle of a courtroom. This is an act of shocking, absurd, and almost comedic generosity. It's an act that completely disarms the oppressor. It exposes their greed in a way that nothing else could. It's saying, "You want my shirt? Your greed is so great? Here, take my coat too. Take everything. My possessions are not my master. You can have my stuff, but you cannot have me. You cannot have my dignity." It's another act of nonviolent, creative protest that seizes the moral high ground and exposes the injustice of the system. Then he gives the most politically charged example of all. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. His audience knew exactly what this meant. A Roman soldier, by law, could force any Jewish civilian to carry his heavy pack, his gear, for 1 Roman mile. It was a constant, daily, grinding humiliation. It was the symbol of their oppression. They hated it. And Jesus says, when that soldier forces you to carry his pack for 1 mile, go with him too. Can you imagine the shock in the crowd? This sounds like collaboration, but it's the opposite. The first mile is compulsion. It is slavery. It is oppression. You do it with a heart full of resentment and hatred. But the second mile is a choice. The second mile is an act of freedom. The moment you say, "It's okay, soldier, I'll take it another mile," you have completely changed the dynamic. You are no longer his victim. You are, in a strange and powerful way, his equal, offering an act of service. You have seized the moral initiative. You have shocked him with your humanity. You have treated him not as a Roman oppressor, but as a man who is probably also tired and miserable. This second mile is the ultimate act of loving your enemy. It is a creative, disarming, and revolutionary way to respond to oppression, not with violence, but with a costly, assertive, and transformative love. And then, he says it. He sums up this entire, radical new ethic with the most challenging command in the history of human thought. You have heard that it was said, "Love your neighbor and hate your enemy." But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. This is the mountain peak. This is the one command that, more than any other, sets this kingdom apart from every other philosophy, religion, or political system on earth. The old way of the world was, love your neighbor, your tribe, your us, and hate your enemy, the them. And let's be honest, that is still the way of the world. Our world runs on us versus them. Our politics, our nations, our social tribes, they are all defined by who we are against. Our capacity to love our in-group is often fueled by our shared hatred for the out-group. And Jesus looks at this fundamental human brokenness and says, no more. He says, anyone can love those who love them back. That's just a transaction. That's just reciprocity. Even the tax collectors, the most corrupt people you know, do that. The revolution, the sign that you are a citizen of this new, upside-down kingdom, is your capacity to love the one who doesn't love you back, to love the one who hates you, to love the one who wishes you harm, to actively pray for the well-being of the person who is persecuting you. This is not a love of feeling. It's not about having warm, fuzzy emotions for your enemy. That's impossible. This is a love of the will. It is an active, costly, creative goodwill. It is the decision to treat them with dignity, to want their best, which might mean their reform, and to refuse to dehumanize them, just as they are dehumanizing you.
Why?
Why do this impossible, unnatural thing? Jesus gives the reason, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. This is the ultimate why. We do it because that's what God is like. God's love is not transactional. He gives his good gifts, his son, his reign, his very life, to everyone, not just his friends. His love is non-discriminatory. It is scandalous. And to be a child of God is to begin to love, even in our small, stumbling way, like he does. After dropping this revolutionary command, Jesus abruptly shifts gears. He turns from our horizontal relationships with each other to our vertical relationship with God. He knows what people will do. They will hear this high, moral calling, and they will turn it into a new, spiritual performance. They will try to look like they love their enemies, to look like they are merciful, to look like they are righteous. And so he issues this stark, crucial warning. Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others, to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. This is a profound check on our motives. Why do we do the good things we do? Why do we give to charity? Why do we pray? Why do we serve? Is it for the reward of public applause? Is it for the likes on social media? Is it for the reputation of being a good person? Is it for the warm, fuzzy feeling of self-congratulation? Jesus says, be careful. Because if you do your good deeds for the audience of people, then the applause of people is your reward. That's all you get. You've cashed your check. It has no deeper, no eternal, no real spiritual value. It's just another transaction. The reward from the Father in heaven, the reward that lasts, is reserved for a different kind of righteousness. A righteousness that is done for an audience of one. He is about to teach us the difference between theater and true spirituality. He is asking us to do a deep, honest, and uncomfortable inventory of our why. In our modern world, where so much of our life is a public performance, where we are all building a personal brand, this teaching is a sharp, surgical knife, cutting to the very heart of our motivations. And so, he gives 3 practical, everyday examples of this secret piety. The first is giving. So, when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets, to be honored by others. This was a real thing. Wealthy people would time their large donations to the temple treasury for when the crowds were largest, to make a big, public show of their generosity. It was performance art. Jesus says, they have received their reward in full. Instead, when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. This is, again, hyperbole. It's an image of such profound, unself-conscious generosity that even you are not paying attention to your own goodness. It's a giving that is so free from the need for applause that it's done quietly, anonymously, without any thought of a thank you or a plaque on the wall. The second example is prayer. And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Prayer, for them, was a public performance. It was about looking holy. Jesus says, they have received their reward in full. Instead, when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father, who is unseen. Then your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. He is calling for a move from public, performative prayer to private, intimate prayer. The goal of prayer is not to impress people. The goal of prayer is to connect with God. It is about relationship, not reputation. The third example is fasting. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. They would put on a gloomy face, mess up their hair, and walk around sighing. Also, people would say, "Oh, look how spiritual he is." Jesus says, they have received their reward in full. Instead, when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father who is unseen. Look normal. Be cheerful. The point of fasting is not to get human sympathy, it's to deepen your reliance on God. In all 3 examples, the message is identical. This new kingdom, this new spirituality, is about authenticity. It is about the heart. It is about purifying our motives, moving from a life of public performance for human applause to a life of quiet, secret, joyful intimacy with our unseen Father. And then, right in the middle of this teaching on how to pray, Jesus gives us a model for prayer. He says, "This, then, is how you should pray." And he gives us the prayer that we now call the Lord's Prayer. It is, in itself, a perfect, condensed summary of the entire sermon, a manifesto in miniature. It starts, "Our Father in heaven." It's not "my Father." It's "our." It's communal from the first word. It's not a private prayer. It's a family prayer. And it's relational. Father. We are not approaching a distant, angry force, but an intimate, loving Abba. Hallowed be your name. It starts with worship. It starts by reorienting our entire universe, by putting God, in His holiness and goodness, back at the center. It's an antidote to our me-first lives. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. This is the core petition. It's an alignment of our desires with His. It is a prayer for the world to be fixed. It's a prayer for the upside-down kingdom of the sermon to become a reality, right here, on earth, just as it is in heaven. It is a prayer for justice, for peace, for reconciliation. Then it turns to our needs. Give us today our daily bread. This is a profound statement of trust. It's not, give me a 10-year supply of bread. It's, give me just what I need for today. It is a radical rejection of anxiety and hoarding, and a radical embrace of a day-by-day, simple dependence. And forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. Here it is again, the inescapable link. We ask for mercy in the same breath that we promise to give it. It's a recognition of our own brokenness and our own responsibility. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. This is the final, humble admission of our weakness. It's a prayer for guidance, for protection, for the moral strength to live this radical life, and a recognition that there are forces in the world, and in our own hearts, that will try to pull us off this path. It is a complete, countercultural life, summed up in 66 powerful words. From our piety, Jesus moves to our possessions. This is where the manifesto gets deeply, profoundly, and uncomfortably modern. This is the part of the sermon we would love to skip. He says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal." This is a direct, frontal assault on the entire operating system of our modern, consumer-driven, capitalist culture. Our entire economic system, our entire measure of a successful life, is built on one thing: storing up treasures on earth. We call it a portfolio, a pension plan, a 401k, a dream house, a new car. We are a culture obsessed with accumulation, with getting more, and with finding our security in the stuff we have stored up. And Jesus looks at this entire enterprise and says, it's a bad investment.
Why?
He's not saying stuff is evil. He's saying it's insecure. It's temporary. He gives 3 examples. Moths, they eat your clothes; rust, it eats your metal; and thieves, they steal everything else. In our world, it's stock market crashes, inflation, downsizing, depreciation, or just the simple, unavoidable fact that you can't take it with you. It's all temporary. It's all insecure. To build your life security on it is to build on a foundation that is guaranteed to fail. Instead, he says, store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where moths and rust do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. He's offering a different investment strategy. Invest in things that last. Invest in things that are eternal, that are indestructible. What are those things? They are the things he's been talking about. Invest in mercy. Invest in justice. Invest in peacemaking. Invest in relationships. Invest in character. Invest your time, your energy, and, yes, your money, in things that have an eternal, non-perishable value. And then he gives the brilliant, psychological reason why this investment strategy is so critical. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This is one of the most profound insights into human nature ever spoken. Notice the order. He does not say, where your heart is, there you will put your treasure. That seems more logical. We think, I love my family, so I invest my time in them. But Jesus flips it. He says, what you invest in, you will come to love. Your heart will follow your treasure. This is a law of the human soul. Put your money into a random stock, and you will suddenly find yourself loving that company, checking its progress daily, rooting for it. Put your time and energy into a hobby, and your heart for that hobby will grow. Jesus is giving us a practical, actionable, and slightly scary tool for redirecting our affections. We all say, I want to love God more. I want my heart to be in the kingdom. I want to care more about justice and mercy. And Jesus says, do you? Then invest there. Give your money to that cause. Give your time to that person. Give your energy to that act of service. Do it, and a strange thing will happen. Your heart will follow. You will come to love what you have invested in. He is telling us that our checkbook, our credit card statement, our calendar is a more accurate theologian than our mouths. It tells the truth. It shows what we really love, what we really treasure. And if we want to change our heart, we must first change our investment portfolio. This is the practical how-to for a life of reordered love. It's a call to put our money and our time and our energy where our claimed values are, and to trust that our hearts will follow. He's not done with this uncomfortable topic of money. He knows this is the final boss for most of us. He makes it even more stark, more black and white. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. He's saying, you have to choose. There is no middle ground. There is no part-time service. You will, in the end, be devoted to one and despise the other. You will have one ultimate master in your life, one ultimate God that you worship, that you trust, that you serve. And then he names the rival master. He doesn't say, you cannot serve God and Satan. He doesn't say, you cannot serve God and pleasure, or God and fame. He names the one great, central idol of human life, especially modern human life. He says, you cannot serve both God and money. He personifies money, using the Aramaic word mammon. He's not just talking about coins. He's talking about wealth as a force, as a rival deity, as a master that demands our allegiance. We think we use money. We think it's a tool that we control. And Jesus is warning us, in the strongest possible terms, that money is not a neutral tool. It is an active master that will fight for our devotion. It will promise us everything that God promises: security, identity, power, freedom, and a future.
And it will lie.
It will demand our time, our energy, our passion, our very worship. And it will, in the end, enslave us. Jesus is forcing a choice. He is drawing a line in the sand. He is asking us, who or what is really the master of your life? What is the one thing you are truly serving? What is the one thing you truly trust for your security and your future?
You'll serve something.
The only question is, will it be the living God or the dead idol of money? And of course, Jesus knows the human heart. He knows that the moment he says, don't store up treasures, and you can't serve money, the very first, immediate, and panicked reaction in every human heart is, but, how will I live? How will I survive? What about my kids? What about my retirement? What about my next meal? What about my clothes? This command about money is a direct trigger for our deepest, most primal fear, the fear of not enough. And so, immediately, Jesus turns from the problem of possessions to the problem of anxiety. He turns from mammon to worry. He says, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. He commands us not to worry, not to be consumed by this low-grade, constant, life-sucking anxiety that is the background noise of so much of our modern existence. He knows that anxiety is the air we breathe, and he gives us the antidote. He doesn't just say, stop it. He says, look. He points us to the natural world. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? He's saying, look at the sparrows. They don't have a pension plan. They don't have a barn. They just live, day by day, in a state of simple, creaturely trust. And your Father feeds them. And you are infinitely more valuable to him than a sparrow. Then he says, look at the flowers of the field. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, will he not much more clothe you, you of little faith? He's saying, worry is a form of practical atheism. It's living as if we are functional orphans, as if we don't have a good, capable, and loving Father who knows exactly what we need. Worry, he says, is also completely useless. Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? It is the most futile of all human activities. It doesn't change the future. It just ruins the present. So, what is the solution? If we are not to serve money, and we are not to be consumed by worry, how do we live? Jesus gives the grand, summarizing principle for this entire section, and perhaps for the entire sermon. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. This is the great reordering of our lives. This is the master priority. He is saying, you are right to be concerned about all these things: food, drink, clothes, security. They are real needs. The pagans, the people who don't know the Father, that's what their whole life is about. They run after these things. That is their first pursuit. But you are to be different. You are to have one primary, all-consuming, life-directing pursuit. Seek first his kingdom. Make that your number one. Pour your passion, your energy, your time, your talents, your money, your life's work into his agenda, into the agenda of this sermon. Seek righteousness. Seek justice.
Seek mercy.
Seek peacemaking. Seek to love your enemies. Seek to be pure in heart. Make that the treasure you are storing up. Make that the master you are serving. And then, he gives the most liberating promise in all of Scripture. And all these things will be given to you as well. It's not a promise of name it and claim it riches. It's a promise of sufficiency. It's a promise that if we get our first thing right, if we make his kingdom our number one, he will take care of all the second things. He will make sure we have our daily bread. It is a call to radically reorder our lives, to put the most important thing at the absolute center, and to trust, with the simple faith of a bird or a flower, that our Father will take care of the rest. And then he concludes, therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. This is the call to presence. Live today. Trust God today. Do the work of the kingdom today. The past is gone. The future is not ours. All we have is this one, single, precious day. And now, he brings this great manifesto to its conclusion. He gives a rapid-fire series of powerful, final images to guide us on this new, countercultural path. He starts with judgment. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. This is a direct callback to the blessed are the merciful. He is warning us, in the strongest terms, to stop being a critic of everyone else's life. He says, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? He's saying, you have no idea how big your own stuff is. You are walking around with a giant 2x4 plank sticking out of your own eye, and you have the audacity to try and perform delicate, microscopic surgery on the speck in your brother's eye. It's a call to profound humility. It's a call to stop our judging, our condemnation of others, and to focus, with ruthless honesty, on our own transformation first. From there, he moves to a promise. He knows this life he has described is impossible. Love your enemies? Don't worry. Be pure in heart. We can't do it. And so he says, ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open to you. He's saying, you're right. You can't, but your Father can. He's inviting us to a life of desperate, constant dependence. Ask for the power. Seek the wisdom. Knock on the door of heaven. He's not a reluctant, angry God. He's a father. Which of you, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? How much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? This impossible life is not lived by trying harder. It's lived by asking better. It's a life of grace, received through dependent prayer. And then, he gives the one simple, golden rule that perfectly summarizes the entire second half of his sermon. So, in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. This is the law. This is the ethic of the kingdom. It is a call to a life of radical, empathetic, active love. And finally, he concludes with the last, stark, powerful choice. He says, enter through the narrow gate. This path, this countercultural, upside-down life, it's the narrow road. It's hard. It's costly. And only a few find it. The broad road, the road of the world, of eye for an eye, of me first, of worry, of serving money. That road is easy. It's what everyone else is doing. And it leads to destruction. He is saying, I have shown you two ways, the way of the world and the way of the kingdom. Now you must choose. And he ends with the most powerful image of all, the two builders. One man hears this entire, radical, life-altering sermon and says, that's nice. What a great teacher. Such lovely ideas. And he goes and builds his life on the sand. He builds it on convenience, on public opinion, on the broad road of the world. The other man hears these words and, with fear and trembling, he does them. He puts them into practice. He tries to be merciful. He fails and he asks for help. He tries to love his enemy. He fails and he seeks the strength. He tries to stop worrying. He fails and he knocks. He is building his life on the rock of these very words. And Jesus promises, the storms will come. The rain, the wind, the floods, the crises of life, the sickness, the loss, the failure, they will come and they will beat against both houses. The storm does not discriminate. And in that day, the only life that will stand, the only life that will survive, the only life that has any true, lasting, and solid foundation is the one built on the solid, eternal, and countercultural rock of this very sermon. The Sermon on the Mount is not just a lovely piece of philosophy to be admired. It is not just information to be known. It is a foundation to be built upon. It is a call to a new and better way of being human.